We are living yet another day in Disney remake hell. We've been living here with Little Mermaid and Peter Pan and Wendy and Snow White, and now we are joined by Lilo and Stitch. Yes, Disney remade Lilo and Stitch, and they took the original plot and IP and just ripped it up in the writer's room, threw it in the air, and I guess had a little confetti party, because what did I watch? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe, because today we're going to be talking about Lilo and Stitch. And spoiler alert, if you have not seen the new Disney remake and you plan to, and I know what you're thinking, Amala, if I saw the 2002 version of Lilo and Stitch, I don't need a spoiler alert. It's going to be the same, right? No, not right. In fact, Disney took what was a beautiful film about family values and tradition and culture and sticking together and just completely threw that out the window and decided to make a modern day feminist girl boss tale. And I'm going to explain exactly how that happened. Now, for me to explain that, you need to know what Lilo and Stitch is originally all about. It's not even necessarily about Lilo and Stitch. It's about Lilo and Nani. Now, Lilo and Nani are a sister pair. Nani's the older sister, Lilo's the younger. Now, unfortunately, Lilo and Nani have lost their parents in a car crash, and Nani is thrust into this world of essentially motherhood, taking care of her little sister, Lilo. Now, Lilo has her own struggles in life, Nani has hers, and in the forefront of this film is a fight for custody and guardianship of Lilo. That is what Nani wants, that's what she's advocating for, but the powers that be and the institutions that be are saying, you know what, we are going to take Lilo away from you if in 3 days' time you don't prove that you can create a good, wholesome environment for her. Now, Nani decides she's going to get Lilo a pet. That pet ends up being the alien Stitch, who has come down to Earth and is going to create his own little bits of conflict. And we have to keep this together before the institutions that be come and take Lilo away from Nani. Now, throughout this whole process, Stitch is creating all these problems, but Stitch is also learning what family means and how to be a family member and what it means when you are chosen by a family. And Nani is battling through all this conflict and everything that Stitch is creating to keep Lilo and keep this family together, whilst Lilo is learning how to teach Stitch to be normal and to behave, and through that process, learning herself. And in the end of this film, through a great struggle for custody and family and learning how to be with one another, we get a family that sticks together. Why? Because Ohana means family, and family means no one is left behind and no one is forgotten. That's what we are told in the original Lilo and Stitch. Now, fast forward to 2025, and we're getting a little bit of a different story. Of course, there's Lilo and Nani and Stitch, and there is this question of guardianship and custody. But Nani is essentially saying, you know what? Do I want to be the guardian of Lilo, or should I allow the state to come in and relinquish me of this responsibility? And in the end, spoiler alert, Nani does decide to give Lilo up to the state and say, you know what, I am not going to be her guardian. In fact, I'm going to go off to college and become a marine biologist. Yes, through her struggle in taking care of Lilo, Nani is repeatedly visited by the state. She's repeatedly having conversations with them, and essentially she decides that the state will take care of Lilo, and that's the route that she's going to take, because the storylines of Lilo and Stitch don't really change throughout this 2025 film. And this, of course, is interesting because obviously we know that's not the way the story is supposed to go. I don't think anybody would have wanted to watch this film knowing that the ending was going to be that Nani was going to give up Lilo to the state. But nonetheless, that's the route that Disney decided to take. But they didn't necessarily change the routes of storylines for Lilo and for Stitch, which makes it really interesting because these immature characters, a 6-year-old girl and an alien who's literally just come to Earth, progress far more than Nani, who is supposed to be this mature girl boss who ends up making the right decision in the end, which we all know is the wrong one. Stitch, this little alien who falls to Earth and doesn't know what's going on, but is a little selfish and is always doing bad things and being crazy, learns to sort of calm down, learns to take care of others, learns what family means and why family needs to be protected. And he does that in a matter of days. And Lilo, who is literally a 6-year-old girl, also progresses far more than Nani does in this storyline. In the beginning, when Lilo and Nani are having conflict, Lilo says to Nani, I don't know that you really work out that well as a mother, but I really loved you when you were my sister, or I loved it when you were my sister. And as the film moves forward, we get this moment where Lilo and Nani are laying together, and Lilo says, you know what? I love you as a mom too, to her older sister. And Nani takes in that compliment. All the while, in the background, while Lilo is saying this, Nani is planning giving her up to the state. So Lilo and Stitch are two most immature characters in the entire film, as they should be. Learn to mature and progress far faster than any other person in this film, which is so interesting. Disney can't help but create films that I guess are somewhat of a Trojan horse for their own political ideas and their leftism. They say they're going to give you Snow White or Peter Pan, or in this case, Lilo and Stitch, and instead they're going to give you a bastardized version of that tells you to be a girl boss feminist, that you don't need no man, that you can save yourself, and if life isn't going the way you want it, just switch course, even if you have to abandon Ohana family. And to really drive home this comparison, I need to show you some clips from the 2002 version and the 2025 version. Now here's some clips of Nani and how she's responding to Lilo being taken away from her in the original.
Lilo. Please, don't do this.
You know I have no choice.
No! You're not taking her! I'm the only one who understands it.
And in the 2025 version, when Lilo is saying, Ohana means family, and family means never being left behind and never forgotten, Nani says this about their parents dying.
Why are you trying to go against what Mama and Papa said?
Because we were left behind.
Oh yes, you were left behind. Your parents left you behind when they died. She also goes on to tell her 6-year-old sister that this is the reality that they're living in and that she should live in the reality with her.
I know. All that stuff sounds so nice. It sounds really nice to me too, but that is not reality. This is reality.
Oh yes, we all know that when a child does not understand exactly what's going on or is not taking grasp of a conflict that's taking place in their life, that we have to pick them up and bring them into reality with us. Come on, 6-year-old Lilo, just understand what a much older Nani is thinking and experiencing right now. So yes, the 2025 version is a completely bastardized version of Lilo and Stitch, but it also makes no logical sense. In the original, Nani knows what family means. She knows how important it is, and in the loss of her parents, she knows what she needs to keep in order to take care of Lilo. Now, she may be coming up short in many different ways and also dealing with an institution that's trying to rip up their family, but she knows the end result should be her and Lilo together. Now, Lilo, as a young girl, is struggling with all of these different concepts because she's a child, and through her relationship with Stitch and teaching him and taking care of him, she is reinforced this idea that Ohana means family and family is important, and she starts to understand not only her older sister, but the world around her. And Stitch, this very selfish alien who has no concept of earthly ideas, learns in a matter of days just how important family, this thing that he never had, is. But Disney can't help but girl-bossify everything that they create. And where in the original we only have Ohana means family, we add this new phrase in the second film called Kuleana, I guess. And essentially Kuleana is you should never leave yourself behind. And that's the justification that they give to Nani to have her not only relinquish herself of guardianship of Lilo, but to go off and become a marine biologist at college. That you should also care for yourself and you cannot leave yourself behind, feminist girl boss. Now, somehow, some way, leftists on the internet are trying to say that this new Lilo and Stitch is taking on a conservative message. And I'm going to read you some tweets here. These have gone massively viral. This one says, just found out in the new live action remake, they made Nani give up custody of Lilo so that she can go off to college in the mainland. White people have to be stopped. It got 222,000 likes on X and 8.1 million views. Now, how is this a white storyline? It's not making sense to me whatsoever. And not only did Disney do this whole superficial representation thing throughout this entire film where you don't even really have that many white characters influencing the plot, except for, guess what? The two sort of villainous characters that are the aliens coming to find Stitch. Those are two white people you have in this film. But there is no white influence to this film whatsoever. As we all know, Disney is not an institution that's trying to uphold whiteness or conservatism at all. Now, this next one is very similar. It says, when I talk about Hollywood interjecting more white-centered conservative politics into their film, this is what I'm talking about. Nani denigrating Hawaiian beliefs and turning Lilo over to the government so she can study outside of Hawaii is colonial, anti-indigenous messaging. Are we not media literate anymore? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. We all know that Disney is not a conservative institution, company. It never has been. It probably never will be. Disney has been completely overtaken by woke leftism, and that's what's happened in this film. And I think there's this cognitive dissonance that leftists are realizing that Disney has completely bastardized Lilo and Stitch, and because they feel that, they want to attribute it to conservatives and to white people for some reason. But I promise you, if you take a look, not even a deeper look, a shallow look into Disney, this is completely informed by leftist politics and woke virtue signaling and pandering. Disney cannot make a remake without injecting leftist politics. And what they did here is they took the structure of Lilo and Stitch and they saw something that stood out. Nani. Nani is a young girl who has a whole future ahead of her, who is thrust into, let's be honest, unplanned motherhood. And how does the left feel about unplanned motherhood? They don't feel great about it. Now they ask themselves the question, should Nani have to be responsible for Lilo? Should Nani want to be responsible for Lilo? Is that our natural lean towards Ohana, meaning family? Or is it just something that we place on young women because young women should have to be mothers and guardians? And Disney is of course delusional for even asking the question, for we all know that it makes sense for Lilo to end up with Nani, but not in leftist land, not in feminist girl boss land. So now Nani gets to say, yes, life circumstances have placed me in struggle, but I don't have to accept that struggle. I can give my little sister up to the state and hope that the foster care system takes care of her, and I will go to be a girl boss marine biologist on the mainland. You couldn't get more leftist feminist than that, in my opinion. How anybody could spin this into a white-centered conservative tale is far beyond me. Here we are, I guess, and that is what's taken place with this new remake of Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch, the two young, immature characters in this film, learn far more, progress far more, and mature far more than the mature adults in this film. And nearly every single adult that is present in this film, from Nani to the state and people working on behalf of the state, to the family friends of Nani and Lilo, completely abandon Lilo, this young, immature girl who needs guidance, who needs guardianship, and likely from her sister. And they essentially tell Nani, you know what, make a choice for yourself because you're a bright young woman and motherhood should not have been thrust upon you. And Disney wants to convince us of this narrative so much that in the end, Lilo sits with Nani and says, you know what, Nani, yes, go, leave me, abandon me to become a Marine, she thinks. Not even to become a marine biologist. The 6-year-old is saying, go off to be a Marine. And that's supposed to be, haha, funny. Lilo doesn't understand, but she understands that Nani should give her up. So if you watch the original Lilo and Stitch, you got a story of family and learning to love and learning to care for one another and sticking together through all the struggles and institutions trying to break you apart and separate you. If you watch the new Lilo and Stitch, I guess the message to young children is, yeah, family is important, but not as important as your dreams of being a marine biologist. So if you feel like family is becoming too much, just call up the state and the state will take care of all of that for you. It's not exactly the same. Yet Disney is making money hand over fist, pumping out this film to young children and families. And I'm so curious to see how children interpret what they watch in this film compared to the original. I'm going to stick to the original. And you know what? I'm staying away from Disney. Disney, please, 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 please. I think the entire world at this point is begging you to stay away from the remakes, but you can't help yourselves. Not only can they not create an original idea, but when they go and lean on the original ideas of Disney's past, okay, they completely bastardize them. They completely change them, and you end up losing all of the magic, all of the tradition, all of the charm, all of the character that made the original so good to begin with. Disney, please stop. Guys, those are my thoughts on the new Lilo and Stitch. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, I encourage healthy debate. So if you disagree with anything I said in this video, do get out, but do so respectfully. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.